Hey there, everybody. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for clicking on the video. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. Today I wanted to talk about 90 Day Fiancé, The Other Way, Season 5, Episode 14, Be-Hitched. I think that's a play on Bewitched, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with Kimberly and TJ. We see them like setting up for the wedding. There's lots of people working hard on it. I really love all the colors. They're very vibrant. And, I'm just thinking all this hard work for this ungrateful brat. Like, what a shame. We find out that it's 9 a.m. on wedding day 1. And I swear if she complains about anything, I'm going to be mad because she had to put in 0 effort for this. TJ's out there, he's taking photos with his mama and his family. And he says tomorrow's the wedding, but before that, there's back-to-back festivities. They're going to have over 200 guests. And he says there's just so many things going on, he doesn't even know all of them. So the ladies of TJ's family go and they get Kim out of her trailer. And she has this nice cream-colored dress. It looks all right. She looks pretty good. She's like, I'm in a crappy mood. Shocker. Like, literally. Apparently, she's having tummy issues. And, she had an accident in her pants. She woke up early. And that was a win. But then she didn't quite make it to the bathroom. And, that's probably a good omen for her wedding day, I'm sure. I was hoping from the preview that it happened during the festivities, I'm not going to lie. And then I was wondering, like, dang, what's wrong with me that I would wish this on someone? But then we find out the first ceremony is the Mendy ceremony. And she's like, does TJ get this done? But, everyone ignores her. I don't know that they speak English. And this is the ceremony where the bride gets henna on her hands and feet and her nails and all of that. She says that her parents are late, so she's hanging with these people she doesn't know, she can't communicate with, so she just feels awkward. TJ's mom is trying to talk to her, and she's just staring at her with like a dagger stare, like, how dare you? What you talking to me for? I was just complaining no one was talking to me. But then someone else comes up and tells her to smile. And she's like, I'm not trying to be a bitch right now. And it's like, since when? She says she does appreciate all these rituals, but she's not feeling good and she's lonely. TJ comes over to see what her issues is. And she tells him like how she isn't feeling good and about her incident in the morning. And she's been vomiting and she's cold. And TJ tells us that they started the wedding festivities and you just don't want bad vibes around you. There's so many things centered around her, so he's hoping she can turn that frown upside down. And I do love how they were incorporating her tattoo she has into the henna. That was cool. And, TJ does his best to cheer her up, and what do you know? She cracks a smile. He tells us that she can be difficult, and he is worried about what's going to happen. So then it's 11 a.m. Kim's parents finally arrive. She tells them that she's sick. She's been sick all morning. And she's just trying to stay positive. But now that they're there, she feels less alone. And she's looking forward to her henna now. Because that's one of her favorite things. Like, well, damn, I can't imagine how she is for the rest of the things that aren't her favorite. So Yash comes over. He has a seat. At first, it's awkward. He tells her the meeting with her family was important. And she agrees, and she tells him she knows she's a handful. And he says he knows, and they laugh. And she's like, well, good, now you know. She says it hurt her feelings when he called her stupid. Like, she knows she's a lot of things, but she's not stupid. And he apologizes. She takes a second. She's, like, looking at the henna lady. And then she accepts the apology. She says that she thinks that they're mature enough to respect each other. And if they get angry, they can just tell each other to chill out. She says she got an apology Now her stomach is settling, what do you know? And she's excited for the rest of the day. She says that one of the best parts of the wedding is all the different outfits and looks that she gets to show off. So then it's 8 p.m. They're having another ceremony. I can't pronounce this. TJ says it's like a bridal shower in the US. The stage, it's beautiful. The backdrop, I love the backdrop. It's so colorful. And he says his family gives gifts to Kimberly. He says lap in Hindi is called Anjali. So whatever gifts you get, you put on your lap. That's why it's called filling up your lap. I really laughed when I read on the screen because they do the subtitles and they're like, get the fruit basket, she's coming. I don't know why. TJ's cousin says this is the first time they've seen a wedding like this where they're blending the two cultures. That's cool. Kim's on the sofa. They say, now sweeten her mouth, and they feed her something, and someone yells, bring more. I'm like, yeah, they must know her. They say it's lucky to give fruits and sweets to the bride. And she says, someone puts stuff on her, she smiles, they take a picture, and they repeat that over and over. She feels like one of the cardboard cutouts at a movie theater that people like take a picture with and then move on their way. And all of a sudden, like someone needs to sit by her and there isn't enough room and they're telling her to sit on the mom's lap. And she's like, no. And then the lady just leaves and I don't know what happened. They asked in the interview if TJ told her she needed to sit on his mom's lap and she had no idea. He's like, yeah, we didn't tell you. She's like, well, that would have been good to know. He says it's a tradition because she's coming into the home as a daughter. And he didn't have time to tell her this because they were too busy fighting. But sitting on her lap symbolizes the mother-daughter relationships. So then we see 9 p.m. They have a Sangeet ceremony. TJ says it's a dance ceremony and his friends and family and relatives prepare a dance for him and Kimberly, and it's just a fun thing. Yash is up there busting moves, living his best life, and TJ's like, wow, his dancing was worse than I thought. And even Kim thinks this is fun and enjoys it. She says she wasn't expecting to dance because they didn't prepare a dance. They weren't ready for that. But he convinces her and he gets up there. He says he can always bust out moves. It's easy for him. Kim isn't a big dancer. She's trying to follow along with him. But she's just making funny faces. He tells us that she's clumsy and awkward, but she enjoys it. And then her parents are like, I hope he doesn't want us to dance. But they don't. They say that, obviously the traditions there are different than American traditions. And she says it was beautiful, but she thinks it was overwhelming for Kimberly. So then it's 10:30. It's the end of the night. Day one is complete. And TJ is excited for tomorrow. He tells her to get sleep because they have a long day ahead of them. Today was nothing compared to tomorrow because she has to stay up all night tomorrow. I didn't know that was involved. I don't know how well I would do with such things. She says despite the crappy start to the day, it was fun and she can marry her dream man tomorrow. So I'm ready to see that. I think this was the most peaceful this couple has ever been. They had to be on their best behavior. And she somehow still managed to just be a wet blanket or something the whole time. I feel like she's very unappreciative. And I think his family put together something really beautiful. Okay, let's talk about these crazy kids, Brandon and Mary. We start off with Mary and her grandma. She tells her she's like having fever and she's dizzy from the pregnancy. Grandma's like, I told you not to get pregnant yet. She's like, it happened, you got to face the consequences. She says after he proposed a few weeks ago, she told her grandma she was pregnant. And she was surprised, but she supports her despite thinking they're not ready. And grandma's more upset that they're fighting so much. and being pregnant and fighting affects a child, which is very true. She's like, but Grandma, all he does is play video games, and he's always sleeping, and he's not helping, and he's yelling around. Like, what a catch. She tells us things have only gotten worse. He's yelling, he's slamming doors, and, they had a huge fight. He was watching TV too loud. She was asking him to turn it down. He refused. Then they show us the clip of it, and he was being a jerk. Like, just turn it down. A lot of people live there. She says that he's always cussing at her, and, all she was doing was asking him to turn it down. It's not a big deal. What a bum. She says everyone can hear him cussing at her, and he just left the house and wouldn't come back. And I'm like, where did he go? The river? She says he does this a lot. And then the producer finds him laying on a concrete slab of a bench, asking what's going on. He says that they had a bad fight, and he felt like he had to get out and escape the environment. And he thought they were going to get married and have a family and all that. But they're not happy, and they're just fighting more and more. And all he knows what to do is walk away and go sleep on the town square bench, apparently. He said he leaves and he goes and lays there for a couple hours, and then he goes back so they can talk calmly. But they fight about him sleeping in or playing games. And he says maybe he could try harder, but he's not doing anything, because if she's hungry, he tries to get her food, and he even scrubs her back, and they're still fighting. And I'm like, well, those are nice things to do for your partner, not something that's mandatory. Housework and all that is something that everyone has to do. And I'm sure if she had a choice, she would prefer you to get up early, help at the store, do some chores, do something, than bring her a plate of food that she already probably cooked herself. He says that he knows Mary hates it when he goes to the bench, and he's the only foreigner there, and they see him without her, and they wonder why he's alone, and they're gossiping and spreading rumors, like maybe he's seeing someone or they're fighting. But he's just doing it so he can calm down, and he just looks worse every episode, physically, and just the way he's acting makes me want to vomit. It brings me back. Grandma says this isn't good for him to leave when he's angry, and he needs to change. And she's hoping that he changes. The grandma suggests that she talks to her grandpa about Brandon, and that could change his attitude. But Mary's nervous about what he will say, because he got back a week ago, and she's avoiding him because even though her grandma's okay with her being pregnant, he is very unhappy. He's angry because Brandon's unpredictable, and then she's pregnant, and he is upset about the fighting because all the neighborhood can hear them yelling and fighting, and that's very scandalous, and he wants them to be a respected family. And she says she's scared, but she should go to her Lolo with Brandon to talk to him, and she hopes that will help him change. Next time we see Brandon, he's just out at the river skipping rocks. Not a care in the world, I guess. Mary hunts him down and tells him the grandparents are worried and upset about the fighting, and they should talk to her grandpa about it. And she agrees. She says she shouldn't avoid him anymore. Brandon says he's nervous and he wasn't thinking about the rules when they got intimate and she ended up pregnant. Yeah, you were, because you talked about how everyone was more relaxed and comfortable because he was gone, and it was easier to break the rules. He knew. But now he knows he'll be more upset because of the fighting. They find Grandpa, and what do you know? He's working. Hard-working man. They have to pull him away from that for a minute to talk. And Brandon's just, hoping this doesn't end in another fight between him and Mary. Brandon's like, I'm sorry for the fighting, and he wants him to know that he respects and appreciates him, and asks him if he's okay with that. He's like, hell no, you're pregnant and always fighting. And he tells Mary the house is like a war zone. Lolo tells us when he found out Mary was pregnant before marriage, he was hurt. But now she's pregnant and they're fighting and it's chaotic. He says Brandon storms off after fights. People are talking about them, spreading rumors, and she's pregnant. So Mary's crying, And she tells Brandon, like, what he said. And Lolo's like, what's going to happen? Is this going to get worse? She tells Brandon he isn't happy because of him and how he shows his attitude around there. Brandon's like, this makes me feel like not a good person. But he has stress and anxiety and he can't fight it all the time, or doesn't. Do you know how many people live with stress and anxiety, Brandon? I can't. My life is 1,000,000 times more stressful than yours, bro. And I cannot lay my happy booty in my bed ever when I'm anxious or stressed. I sure can't play a video game, and a lot of people can't. You gotta, suck it up and get through life. You can't just lay there like a bump on a log and expect everyone to be happy with you and pity you because you have it so hard. So then Brandon says, well, will you be mad if I say I'll try to be better? She's like, then be better. And he tells her, it's not going to happen in a minute. But he does it continuously. And I know they had a similar conversation when they were getting engaged. He hasn't tried. He could get up a half hour earlier every day and start there. Do 5 dishes. Ask Lolo if he needs help. He'll put him to work. But she says even though he knows that she's pregnant, he goes out, he doesn't help, he yells at her, and he doesn't care. He's like, well, is it better if I just go back to America? And she's like, I didn't say that. He's like, you did not say that. And she's like, fine, go back. He's like, you think it's better for everyone if I'm not here? And she said, maybe because he's not changing his attitude. If he can't change and man up, maybe he should leave because she doesn't want the baby to suffer with these problems. He asks her what she wants him to do. She doesn't know. Yeah, she does. Get out of bed and be a productive member of the family. Like, snap out of it. So, as we all know, they're getting married, having another kid. They're hopefully working through this stuff. But, yeah, I feel like if he did go back to America, because if I didn't know what was going to happen, I would debate that. She would do a wonderful job taking care of that baby, and so would her family. I definitely believe that. She's already changed so much just being pregnant. And I know that's what happens to women. I think my therapist told me, or someone told me, that like a woman becomes a mother when she's pregnant and a man like becomes a father when he holds the baby. Something like that. So hopefully seeing the baby straightens him up. Okay, let's move on to the newlyweds, Holly and Wayne. It's the morning after their wedding, and they're in bed, of course, reminiscing. He's telling her how beautiful she was, and she's like, it was hard to walk in my dress. And she married her forever person, she says. But there were some hiccups along the way. They show her falling, getting her veil stuck in the door. She was a hot mess. He asks her how she felt about last night. And he says being married to her is great, and it wasn't just about the sex for him. He wants to come home and know he has a wife waiting for him. And she tells him she feels like he won the wife lottery, and he tells her she won the husband lottery. I think they were the only people playing the lottery that week, and that's what happened. He says it was better than he thought, though, and it would be, he's better than he thought it would be. And he got some, so now he's feeling arrogant. And he's like, where was that lingerie you were supposed to bring? And she's giggling and hiding her face. He's like, did I satisfy you? And she's just so embarrassed. So he turns it up a notch. He's like, was I a sex god like you said? She's like, well, we're closer now that we got to connect in that way. And just because they're raised the way they were, like, people think they're conservative, but he isn't. He's kinky, he's into bondage and weird things. I'm like, well, that's not weird. But she says, she likes that he isn't vanilla and boring, and she had fun. She thinks the wedding was perfect, and then he brings up her mom leaving. She said she's going to be scared when her mom is gone because she won't have a person there with her. And he's like, well, you're eventually going to have to get used to it. But she's not ready for her mom to leave. She doesn't have friends, and that's the only comfort she has from home. And she doesn't know when she'll feel settled because she still doesn't feel safe. And that was really all for them. I don't have a lot to say. We knew they were going to have a great night. Poor Holly was blushing. He's happy. They had a good time. Next time should be more entertaining, I hope. All right. Last up, Danielle and Johan. He needs to stop making me feel a little bit of, I wouldn't call it sympathy. I just feel like he's getting worse. That doesn't mean I feel like she's getting better. But he used to be the silent type, not no more. So they're walking to the car. He's like, where are you taking me? To the sacrifice? To purgatory? So, yay. She tells us they're having a hard time communicating. So they're going to go to a life coach. And she's going to take all the help she can get. They need a third party to help them mediate. And she's like, are you excited? And he's like, to have someone tell me how to live my life? No. She says they were seeing a therapist, but that fell apart because Johan stopped agreeing to go. He doesn't like to talk about feelings or have hard conversations. And apparently there's a stigma in the DR around therapy. So that's why she's going to a life coach, because she hopes he will be more open. He tells her that if he says anything, she has to be right about it and have things her way, which does sound like her. But she wants an example. And he says there was land and a house in his neighborhood for sale. And he told her to buy it, rent it out, and make money. She shot him down and said it wouldn't work. But then he kind of degrades her and makes her seem stupid. And he's like, that's great investing on your part. Well, she didn't want to be a landlord, maybe, dang. And then she's like, you wanted 20 grand for me to invest in a house. Like, all right, Johan, 20 grand here, 30 grand there. It's nothing, right? She said she would have to rent the place for $100 a month. And to her, that's not a sound investment. And I have to agree with that. She tells him she's thinking long term and he's thinking with his ego. And he wants to own things, show them off, and she isn't going to fund his flex. And I was like, oh, that's a good one. Then she states the obvious, that he can't understand her because he doesn't speak English. I'm like, oh, guess she forgot. Or she just likes talking crap to him in English. Or whatever. He tells her she wanted to live there, so she told him they'd be good and they won't need anything. He says her money is better there, and he sees none of it. And somehow he thinks she isn't supporting him. He says he buys his own food. Like, poor baby. He pays for rent and everything else he needs with his own money. So he tells her not to say she supports him. She's like, where'd you get that shirt? She bought it. What about your pants? Danielle bought it. Everything else he has, she buys. And I'm like, the man should be paying his own bills and buying food. It's part of being an adult. But she says she's not paying for anything anymore. He tells her she's going to pay for everything. She disagrees. He's like, nope, you're paying for everything. I'm like, she's going to pay for that divorce if she's smart. She tells us she thinks he's confused about what he's paying because he hands her cash for the rent, and then she pays the rent through her bank account and pays for other things with the cash. And then when he sees her spending cash, she feels like she's spending his money on everything. And he is paying for all of it. But she pays the car rentals, the lights, all the trips, the stuff for the dog. So then she goes back into English mode and tells him he wants to be a kept man, not pay for anything because they live there. She can live anywhere she wants. She can live in the place alone. She has a year lease. He says he's been there for a year and he has nothing. She's not trying to get him a green card. He wants a baby. She can't do that naturally. Oh, first he said he's got no apartment, no car, nothing. He's not getting a green card. She can't give him a baby. That one was a low blow, and I think that's really messed up because women struggle with that a lot, and we cannot control our bodies. So I don't think that's fair. But baby stuff aside, he needs to get those things if he wants them, just like the rest of us have to. She's like, when we met, we were so happy, and she didn't think that he had it in him to not want to be an equal partner. He doesn't want to contribute. He's punishing her because she can't have a child. And if any of those things happened to her friends, she would tell them to run away, get out of there. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Run away. And she's like, I don't have the words in Spanish to tell you what she wants to say, so English is going to have to do. She said she changed her whole life for him, including her language, and she's not going to do that anymore because he doesn't deserve it. In fact, he deserves nothing. And she ends off with, like, is this the relationship you want? Because it's not the relationship I want. And he's like, okay, cool, throw it away. Bye. That's it. I didn't know Johan was such a gold digger. I mean, the signs were there. But the problem is, she's so terrible. And he was so quiet. But the way he treats her is pretty abusive. It's getting worse. As much as I don't like her, I don't think, it's okay to see that. And, she's abusive too. So they both need to get away from each other. I do feel like she is trying more on camera this season to seem like she is working on things. And I think she genuinely does want it to work out. But he just wants her to give him $100,000 and he'll be happy, I guess. Chump change, right? So that was this week. Not a whole lot. But, it was fun hanging out with you guys. Make sure to let me know what you think. And subscribe and stay tuned. I think I will be... Well, I know I will definitely be getting the new 90-day next week when it comes on. I have a lot going on the rest of the week. Big life changes. So, if you don't hear from me, that's why. I do know I need to get back onto the 90-day UK. I'm really trying. But I'm pretty busy from 6 a.m. to 2 in the morning every day. So we're going to see how it goes. Eventually, I will get those out there, though. I might combine them, double them up, something like that. But I'm definitely going to keep consistent on these two. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. And don't forget to take your deep breaths. Probably drink some water. Get ready for winter. Winter is coming. That's what I'm doing. A lot of arranging the garage so I can get my car in there for the winter. So I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.